There you go. The electrical voltage, but charged while driving. Okay. Electric, so the car's gone down. Okay. Oh wow. Hello guys, welcome back to another video. I haven't done a video on my Audi A6 recently, so I think now is the right time. Audi have recently announced the new Audi A6 model, which is named as C9. So I think now is the best time to buy the C8 model, which Audi has been selling from, I believe, 2018-19 all the way till 2025. So I just want to share a few things on what you need to look out for if you're in the market to buy these cars. These are absolutely great cars, one of the best I ever owned, and I'll get into this video as to why it's one of the best things I ever owned. And you know, Audi cars drive great, they handle great, and I come from BMWs in the past, and Audi has, this car is the longest I ever kept a car. So when I tell you these cars drive really good, believe me, it does drive really good. But again, driving is so subjective, right? Some prefer Mercedes, some will prefer BMW, some will prefer Audis. So I don't want to bore you guys too much in terms of, you know, 0 to 60 on this car and how much of a performance beast this is. But if you're in the market to buy the car, you probably know what your criteria are. You probably have realized why you wanted to buy the Audi A6 in the first place. So what I want to do in this video is to actually give you a few things that you need to watch out for that is outside of the things that you would do on your test run. If you're with a dealer just trying to, you know, put your deposit down and you're not fully convinced, then this video will help you to sort of check additional things that you want to check. So let's start off with the driving side of the things. In terms of sort of driving the car, this car drives fantastic, it handles fantastic, and it's the best car I ever had. But what you need to pay attention to is the long-term, it's the long-term mileage there. So at the moment, the car has a long-term mileage of 34.1 miles per gallon. And this is my usage since I bought the car. I've driven 38,890 miles and I've had the engine running for 2,163. On average is giving me 16 miles per hour per trip. So these numbers are very crucial for you to know. Miles per gallon has been coming down from 34.5 miles to 34.1. That's happened very recently and that's come down fairly quicker than I expected. But then this car is being driven by two people, so it could be that, you know, there's multiple different drivers, and I don't use this car as much as I used to in the past, but there are some issues that are starting to creep in. The other thing that you need to notice is car's throttle. It can be a little bit irresponsive when you're driving. So when you're putting your foot down like that, the car might not react as fast as you can. So if you are testing the car and you think it's not reacting, and that's such an Audi thing to do. There's so many reviews even in CarWow where some of these cars, when he presses the throttle, it takes a while for it to react. I think that's just how Audi has engineered that, and you know, and that's one thing that you need to look out for. One thing I would say is use these manual shifts to sort of shift the gear down, and that would make it so much easier for you to actually, if you want to do an overtake quickly and you think the car's going to be laggy, and it's actually dangerous when it does that. Sometimes it can feel a bit dangerous because you feel like the car's not moving and you press faster and then all of a sudden the car goes quicker than you expect. So try to use these things down. And then also the touch screen, you know, it comes with the sort of Google navigation and whatnot if you connect to the CarPlay. But when you connect to CarPlay, you can still have your navigation at the top. If you have the CarPlay or Android Auto connected, you're going to have an issue in terms of you're only going to have the navigation of the Android Auto or CarPlay in here if you have Google Maps in here, and you can only have the Audi Maps in here. So that can be a little bit distracting if you're used to driving with the Audi navigation on this and then you start to use the Android Auto. That can be a little bit distracting, and some of these things can be a little bit distracting. But if you're buying the car, you know what you're getting yourself into. And when it comes to sort of maintenance, this is the thing. You might have seen, as I had the car switched on, the battery issue came up and the car just shut off. So I've got a massive problem in terms of battery issues in the car, and I will explain that in a bit. Recently, when I took the car for a service, they said my battery is really low, and I've tried changing the battery quite a lot, but I've seemed to have so many problems trying to get this battery changed. I first took it to a sort of a local dealer who charged me around £300 to change a battery, and then by the time when they tried to get the battery change done, They said they couldn't do it. They couldn't actually find the battery where it is, and apparently there are 2 batteries in there, so you need to ask your dealer if that is really the case. I still haven't found this out. So there is a battery reader at the front that reads literally 0%, which is what you probably would have seen here at the earlier segment, where the car just shut down because it cannot just stay on. I took it to a much better dealership and they've tried to change it and they couldn't find it. They couldn't sort of switch off the immobilizer. It turns out that only Audi can sort of do the battery replacement on this, because they need to actually code every single module that needs to be coded to say there's a new battery that has been swapped. So taking it to Audi is an expensive exercise, which I'm trying to sort of avoid. I'm trying to find a dealership that can actually take that process on, because taking to Audi would easily add another 100 to 200 pounds to the invoice. But now that I've seen this, I have no other option but to take it. So if you're buying these cars second hand, do make sure that you have the battery checked and do make sure that the battery is probably new. Try to find out when the battery was changed and how much charge it withholds, because you don't want to be stopping in the middle of somewhere. The other thing I wanted to sort of say in terms of sort of maintenance is the brake pads. The brake pads, so I've done 33,890 miles and the car overall has done 47,527 miles. So I've had the car since probably 13,000 14,000 mileage, and around 30,000 miles my brake pads and discs have worn out, so I had them changed for almost £1,000 it cost me. So some of the costs that when you're buying the car, you might not be thinking. I'm just going to switch this engine off because I don't know if this is picking up a lot of noise. If you think your running costs are just fuel, just do think about one of the odd costs that might come up in terms of sort of battery changes like me, and then the brake and disc pads are £1,000. So if you're buying the car secondhand, make sure there's enough padding in there in your brakes and disc, otherwise they can be a lot expensive. Sometimes the car has thrown up errors to say there's very low oil, or no, it's thrown up errors to say there's too much oil in there. A year and a half past my service, which I thought was unusual for the car to say, because I would expect 18 months since a service for the oil to go down, not to go up. So I initially thought that was a faulty sensor, so I ended up changing the oil altogether. Once I changed the oil, the car said the oil is low, but there's no way to check it because it's all digitalized. There are ways to check your oil in the car, but again, it's digitalized. If the sensor is gone, the car's probably going to give you wrong reading, so you had to go into service multiple times for the oil checks. Luckily that's sort of solved itself, but since the oil issue, the car's been making that big humming noise. So if you would have heard the humming noise as I was speaking in my earlier segment, it never used to be this loud, and it's only loud since I've had the battery issues and I've had the oil issues. The other thing you need to worry about is the key fob. The battery on the key fob runs out almost every 3 months, right? I bought the Duracell batteries, but they sort of have the childproof layer on them, so those batteries sort of expire quickly, or the car key fob doesn't actually detect them because of the coating in there. The way I found a workaround I found is to nail varnish or alcohol rubbing, just rub them on top of that, and then those batteries will last longer. But even then, I am changing the batteries in the key fob every 3 months. But I've never had a car where I had to change a key battery, so this car is the first car that I've changed. So in 5 years of owning the car, I probably have changed the battery like 15 times. And the other thing that you need to sort of probably be aware of is the boot, the front and the back. They can jam a little bit. The back one it's supposed to open in full, but sometimes it opens halfway in case you've got something stuck in there. I've had that once or twice. The front boot, however, does need a WD-40. Most of the time, I just cannot open it. Every time I try to open it, I just get my hands greasy and it just can't open it. I have to, put pressurized air in there. The interior and the exterior of the car is the indicate knob in here. This can feel a little bit cheap sometimes, mainly because I don't know, it works most of the time, but sometimes when I'm indicating, this feels like it's about to come off, so it definitely feels cheap. But that's just, I think it's just part of this car. It's like that door mirror there, that gets jammed all the time, and then to reset it, you need to put this back into this mode again. So you need to put it back into the I can't see it, let me zoom in. You need to put it back into the folding mode and then put it back for these things to work. And then lastly, for the electrical seats, they don't actually, even though they have a memory in here, so you can set them 1 and 2. Every time I I leave the car and come on, those electric settings just never stay there. So I don't actually come back and sit in the car the same way. So if I open the seat here, the car should, you see, it's going back a little bit, and all of these things are happening. But what happens is that the electrical seats in here, they just keep moving around and changing all the time. So you might have to get these set up every single time. So that's pretty much it. In the middle of sort of trying to do this video, my battery on the car has decided to run out, which is one of the things that I wanted to highlight in the car. But I think there's just enough in there for me to actually charge and drive around. So I might have to charge, drive around and get the car in for a service with Audi, which I'm not really looking forward to. But you know, that essentially captures the essence of this video. Like, this is a fantastic car to drive. I've never had any problem. It's never let me down. In terms of my usage, I drive this car quite a lot to Germany. So the 33,000 mileage on this car has been made up just motorway, most of the time motorway, and some city runs like everyday shopping. So this car has been used in the last 5 years as a car that everyone uses. So if you're buying a car for everyday use, this is a perfect car. Some issues have started to creep in on the 5 years mark, and that's sort of running up the cost for me. But you know, I just want you to be aware of some of the things that I, as an everyday user, is going through with these Audi cars. I hope this video brings you some information that you might have not been aware of, or some information that outside of just driving the car and getting the feel for it, that you are actually aware that, you know, it's got battery issues, it's got oil issues, it's got brake pad issues, and some of these things are going to run a lot in cost. And I hope this video helps, and if it has helped, do leave a comment, do leave a like, and make sure this video gets across to other prospective buyers that want to buy an Audi A6. But otherwise, you know, enjoy your car and have a nice time driving. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.